Hospitals are places of healing. We go there to recover, to be treated, to be safe. But what happens when a hospital becomes the stage for something terrifying, something beyond explanation? Tonight, I'll share 5 disturbing hospital horror stories told from the people who lived them. Each one swears these events are true. Whether you believe them or not, these stories will make you think twice before walking down a hospital hallway at night. Let's begin. My name is Maria, and back in 2006, I was hospitalized in Chicago after a car accident. They placed me in a quiet wing of the hospital, the East Wing. The nurses said it was rarely used, something about renovations. The first night was fine, but on the second night, at exactly 3 a.m., I woke up with a strange feeling, like someone was watching me. When I opened my eyes, I froze. A woman in a long white gown stood at the foot of my bed. Her hair was wet, hanging in front of her face, dripping onto the floor. I hit the call button frantically. The nurse rushed in within seconds, but the woman was gone. "Are you all right?" the nurse asked. I saw someone in here, a woman. She was just standing right there." The nurse's face went pale. She shut the door, leaned closer, and whispered, "You saw her too, didn't you?" I didn't sleep the rest of the night. Later, I found out that years before, a woman had drowned and was brought to this hospital. She died in the East Wing. Patients still see her at night, dripping wet, standing silently at the end of their beds. My name is David. In 2011, I was visiting my uncle at a hospital in Manila. It was late, around 11 p.m., and I was tired. I stepped into the elevator to head down to the lobby. But when the doors opened, I wasn't in the lobby. I was in a dark, abandoned hallway. The walls were cracked, the floor covered in dust. Old wheelchairs and rusted hospital beds lined the corridor. I stepped out, thinking maybe I pressed the wrong floor. But as soon as I did, I heard something. Wheels squeaking, slowly, coming closer. "Hello?" I called out, my voice shaking. No answer, just the sound of something being pushed across the floor. Then I saw it, a shadow moving at the end of the hall. It wasn't walking, it was gliding. I bolted back into the elevator and slammed the button. The door shut just as the shadow got close enough for me to hear a whisper. When the elevator reopened, I was in the lobby. Shaking, I asked the security guard about the basement level. He looked confused and said, "There is no basement here." That floor was sealed decades ago. To this day, I will never take an elevator alone in a hospital again. My name is Hannah, and in 1998, I was admitted to a London hospital for pneumonia. I shared a room with an elderly woman named Margaret. She was kind, gentle, and told me stories to help me relax. She held my hand that first night and told me, "Don't be afraid, love. You'll be all right." The next morning, her bed was empty. I asked a nurse where Margaret had gone. The nurse frowned. "Who are you talking about?" "My roommate, the older woman in this bed right next to me." The nurse shook her head. "No one's been assigned to that bed," I insisted. I knew I spoke to her, but the nurses all told me the same thing. There had been no patient named Margaret admitted to that ward. Later, while wandering the hospital chapel, I froze. On the memorial plaque for deceased patients, I saw her name. Margaret L., passed away, 1975. The same woman who had comforted me had been dead for over 20 years. I'm Mark, a nurse in Toronto. In 2003, I worked the night shift at a psychiatric hospital. It was tough, but nothing prepared me for what happened one stormy night. The power went out around midnight. Backup generators kept the lights dim, but the halls felt wrong, silent, heavy. Then I heard it, a scream. It came from the locked psychiatric ward. I ran, thinking a patient was in danger. But when I checked, every patient was asleep and accounted for. Another scream, louder, rawer, echoed down the hall. But this time, it didn't come from the ward. It came from inside the walls. My colleague and I pressed our ears to the plaster. The sound was unmistakable, pleading cries as if someone was trapped inside. We called maintenance. They broke open part of the wall. Nothing, just pipes and bricks. Yet even after sealing it up again, the screams continued. Always at midnight, always from behind the walls. Some say the hospital was built over an old asylum where patients were mistreated, even buried in the walls. I don't know if it's true, but I quit that job soon after. I couldn't handle another night of those screams. My name is Sophia. In 2018, my father was in critical condition at a hospital in Madrid. I stayed overnight in the visitors' lounge, too anxious to sleep. At around 4 a.m., I saw him, my father. He was standing in the hallway, healthy, smiling, wearing the clothes he loved. "Papa," I whispered. He smiled, nodded, and raised his hand as if to wave goodbye. I ran toward him, but as I got closer, he faded, like smoke. Minutes later, my phone rang. It was the doctor. My father had just passed away. I believe that was his spirit's way of saying farewell. But to this day, when I close my eyes, I can still see him smiling in that hallway. Hospitals are filled with stories of life, healing, and survival, but also stories of loss, ghosts, and things that cannot be explained. These 5 people will never forget what they experienced inside those walls. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, one thing is certain. Hospitals hold more than just the living. Which story chilled you the most? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoy tales like these, don't forget to subscribe for more dark stories.